Are you guys ready to get into what's probably the most talked about scene in here?
Let's
It
do
is.
it.
It
Dude,
is a.
that could be one of many, many things.
No, but I think this is probably the most researched scene in this movie. You could make
Let's-
an argument too.
let's hit it.
So this is the scene where it's after the show and they're all at the bar slash casino, and Doc Holliday is flanking Wyatt Earp over the shoulder, and he's dealing his cards. And in walks Curly Bill Brocious and Ike Clanton, and of course Johnny Ringo. And they walk up to the table and basically introduce themselves to Wyatt Earp and talk some shit to him. They basically ask him if he's a lawman still. He says, "No, I'm retired."
Shotgun under the table.
That's when Ike Clanton gets really annoying, and he's like, well, that's real good, law dog, because law just don't go around here." And he's like, "Yeah, I heard you the first time." Cuts him off, and then Ringo looks at Doc Holliday, who's sweating his balls off over there.
Tuberculosis hitting hard at this point.
Yeah, but he's still drinking. He loves a drink. But Ringo looks at him and he says,
You must be Doc Holliday.
That's the rumor.
You retired too?
Not me. I'm in my prime.
Yeah, you look it.
"See, this whole movie is like a comedy slash
I see what
wrestling
you're saying.
promo. It really is. It's a comedy slash shit talking wrestling promo."
But a lot of that sort of talk was then. It is funny, but back then that is just so like steely edge, just put in.
It's that Western
straight
vibe. It's the Western
Yeah.
talk shit
Yeah,
vibe.
it's
It just
it's
flows with it.
It's pure.
But
bullshit.
I'm with you there, Brian. I can see the comedy throughout this film.
Oh no, it is.
It does
is
so
funny.
much for the movie.
It's funny,
It is,
but
yeah.
you're so captivated by it. You're not going, "Oh, haha, yeah, that's funny."
Yeah.
The captivation.
It's cool
sort of
and funny
Just make it
at the same
condenses it
time.
and just makes it.
Doc Holliday starts going off on a tangent where he's like, "Should I hate this guy? I don't know." And Kate's like, "You don't even know him." And he's like, "I don't know. There's just something about it." Basically, just talking shit
Yeah.
about him again.
I think
And
I
then-
hate this guy. Everything.
Yeah,
he's
but
got every permutation of "I hate this guy."
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe can I do I like
Yeah.
him? No, I think I hate him.
But then he finally says it. He's like, "Yep, I'm sure of it. I hate him." And then Wyatt Earp tries to diffuse it by saying he's drunk. And this is the part where probably so many people have looked up these things, but this is when Doc Holliday says in vino veritas, which is Latin. And then Ringo responds in Latin, and it like that's what Doc Holliday, you see him look up like, "Oh, he's educated." And then they just start talking shit to each other in Latin. And if you guys want to see what listen to this real quick, because
Do you have the breakdown in
I
Latin?
have the actual translation. There has been apparently like bad translations of this before that have been told officially or whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna go through what apparently is the actual translation, but my Latin is gonna be shit. So if anybody's listening and you speak Latin, I apologize. But so Doc says,
In vino veritas.
which means in wine there is truth. And then Ringo says,
Ajik what Ajis.
which is do what you do. And that's when Doc looks up and says,
Creda Judas opella non ego.
which means let Apella the Jew believe, not I. And then Ringo said,
Juventus stultorum. Magister.
which is youth is the teacher of fools. And then Doc Holliday says,
In pace requiescat.
which means may he rest in peace. So they are not only talking shit to each other in Latin, but talking shit to each other in like a very
Poetic way.
poetic way towards one another. Yes.
It's that sounds like things you would learn, like sentences you would have learned in Latin from. You're not going to just learn a Latin sentence. You'll learn like piece of Latin. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe a poem or maybe a prayer, and there'll be a line in there which you'll learn to know what they mean.
Yeah.
So it just sounds like they were sort of picking and choosing out the lines. I don't think either of these two guys were like fluent in Latin. I think it was
No.
maybe more of what.
Thank you
More
for
what-
mentioning that,
little bit on
because
the edge.
I have something that I want to read here because it perfectly encapsulates what I believe to be like people who take shit too seriously. Because I got this off of Reddit, and there's a lot of threads here. But I scrolled down and I started laughing because I was like, "This is perfect." So somebody said, My only issue is that Bihn's delivery of Latin is ham-fisted. His character may know it, but Biehn doesn't speak it well. Kilmer's a little better, but even he gave me the feeling that neither actor really owned the idea that these characters would speak Latin to one another. And this is why, because it sounds like, okay, so we got a Latin expert in the room, right? Well, then the next response to this is, no shit, they're cowboys. Why would they speak Latin well?
I mean, fucking solid point,
Even
bro.
And then
No,
the next wait, it's not over. The next guy goes, he goes even further. He goes, it's a dead language with no clear idea of how it was spoken and where inflection landed on syllables and words, and we know nothing of body language to put anything but a guess on it. Eat your popcorn and enjoy the movie.
Do you know what, that last guy actually fucking hit the nail on the head.
Yes, he did.
If they put the effort into trying to convey what that was into real life, then
Pointless.
No.
fair fucks. Good.
Wasn't ancient Roman like they spoke Latin before, correct?
You mean the Romans? Yeah, they spoke
Romans,
Latin.
yeah. So they spoke Latin. I remember like when we were doing a tour of the Colosseum, the guy was bringing us around and he was giving us like the tour, and he started to talk about Remus and Romulus and about how, you know, the wolf took care of the children, supposedly is the story of them. But if you go back to the Latin roots and then a language that was spoken before then, it ends up being like a whore who took in a couple of children. It was like this whole interesting story, but he basically spoke on the fact that like the translations are so crazy because we don't really understand Latin fully because we don't know their body language. We don't really know how they spoke and certain shit like that.
Are you trying to say that my ancestors didn't go like this when they spoke?
No, they definitely went a bobbity boop and did that. 100%.
Well,
you just eviscerated my heritage.
Irish ancestors.
The what?
No, he's talking about my other half.
Yeah, the other half.
Oh, what, German?
I'm not German. I don't know where you keep getting this thing that I'm German.
Yeah.
Every time you tell me where you come from, it's like
Brian's actually 100% black.
I no German whatsoever. I get that you're trying to paint me as a Nazi figure, but it's not going to work.
That's
okay.
Craig was actually hired on by the UK government.
Just
He's
because
part
I
of the
talk
British
about Mel
intelligence.
Gibson all the time does not mean I'm a Nazi.
Guys, out of the three of us in this digital room, who's the one who was born in Germany?
You. Yeah, so they basically just talk shit to each other in Latin in a very proper way for a good minute there. And everybody around them looks pretty terrified at this because, oh my God, it's another language. Ooh. He looks over at Kate and he says, that's Latin, darling.
Evidently, Mr. Ringo's an educated man. Now I really hate him.
And that's when Ringo pulls out his pistol and points it right at Doc Holliday's head.
What's it, Johnny? I hear he's real fast.
This next part is amazing and hilarious at different points. It indicates that they already know about Doc Holliday. They're just testing him. But then he flips it again, and then he relaxes a little bit, and then he starts twirling it. He's twirling basically a peacemaker, which is, I don't know if you guys have ever held one of these, but that is a heavy fucking gun.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
That is all the time. Yeah, that is a heavy gun, very heavy. So it is very hard to do that, and I've heard that Michael Biehn practiced this like a lot before he did this scene, but it is still highly impressive that he was able to do this.
That scene drew on for so much longer than it needed. I would not be surprised if there is a 20-hour-long video on YouTube of him just flipping the guns as a joke. I was like, if Brian doesn't make a 5-minute video of just this guy flipping his gun around and it just never ends and it's in a constant loop, like I just pictured that shit happening. But the way that Doc,
don't tempt me, don't tempt me.
A never-ending loop
Don't
of just
tempt
him
me.
twirling the gun, and it just continues because that scene went on for like fucking 1 to 2 minutes of him just flipping his gun around.
But this is the weird thing. This is how you can tell how different things were back then. Everyone's entertained. Even Billy Zane, the so above this all actor, he's completely entertained by this, show of showmanship, and it's just like no. I'd be like, oh, I'm getting the fuck out of here. This is just like, this is not going to end well.
It's
Yeah.
it reminded me of like what kids like growing up with. Like we had these things like called tech decks where the kids would like have skateboards and they would like do flips
Yeah,
with their
I know what you
fingers.
mean.
No, I had
That's-
some of those. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what that shit reminded me of when I saw it. I'm like, yeah, bro, that's so fucking
My
cool.
ex's kid had
Like
some
do it
of
for
those.
another 3 minutes,
What?
bro. Fucking dope.
My ex's kid had some of those.
Oh, really?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I remember those. Those were fun for about
I
2
remember
minutes.
them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he does that, and then the whole
But
bar
yeah,
is cheering.
It was like yo-yo tricks, but it was just
Like
you don't get
literally
killed,
just
you don't get
it's
killed
like,
with
oh,
the
Yeah.
yeah, bro. And
Okay,
then
I
what
guess
is
I guess
he
I'm the
doing
only
with-
gun owner in the room because this is very impressive to me because I know how heavy that gun is. You guys
I
are
feel
like
like if
it's
I
a
tried
fucking
it, I
yo.
would kill
You
a
guys are
family of
dismissing it as like a yo-yo trick.
100%.
I'm like, no, you have no idea how hard it is to twirl a gun like
No, I
that.
don't doubt that it's hard. I just think it looks corny as fuck for someone to be like, fuck yeah, bro. Look at this. I can go this way. Watch this shit this way.
Okay.
Fuck yeah. Like it just took
Do
me
you know
out
what-
of it. That was the only
You know
scene
what
that took
disturbs me
me
about
out.
that? The way you did that right there, Quentin. That's not the first time you've done that.
That's just like how I picture it.
I
Like
think you
one of
just
those
regressed.
people. I don't know, man. That's like
That
as
was
the
so
fart scene in,
natural, dude.
in
That was
Norseman
so-
took you
that
out of a
was-
scene. That took me out for about 5 minutes. I was like, yo, there's no way I
Really?
just watched like 3 minutes of this fucking guy being like, fuck yeah. You know, like it was
So it took you out to the part that happens almost immediately afterwards.
I like the scene with Doc
which
Holliday. I like the scene. That was dope.
he puts the Johnny Ringo puts the gun back in his holster, twirls his mustache.
This bit impresses me more. This I fucking love that. This is like Eminem coming back with on his diss rap on the end of 8 Mile, just coming back with some bullshit. He pulls a fucking tin can and just does the same shit back.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And it's basically a fuck you.
Did you
It's
see
fucking
there was
great.
like a weird foreshadowing at the start of the scene where he's doing the coin in between the fingers. It's how you practice like
Yeah,
any dexterity. So he shows that, and then he does that with the cup that he was sipping out of. But I don't know. I just thought that was cool.
he's,
A little touch.
Yeah, so he basically just twirls his cup, and it's basically like a fuck
It's
you.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
such a massive. fuck
I
you.
could. I think it's also a like I'm still. If you really want to throw down one day, I'm still better than you. I just don't have
Yeah,
to show
Say
you.
that. He did it with a gun. I did it with a fucking cup. A fucking cup that I just finished my drink out of.
Yeah.
I'm clearly drinking, and I just fucked.
That's
you
when
up.
Johnny Ringo was like, I think that's the moment that Johnny Ringo started to become scared of him because he's like, man, there's something wrong with this dude.
No, but if you're doing that to someone who just did that with a gun, fundamentally wrong, or you know that you are that good, you've got the fucking balls of a god, because
Yeah.
that is some fucking crazy bullshit to pull off to someone.
It really was. You guys
And
want to get in?
and it worked. It worked.
Yes, it did. You guys want to get into Curly Bill shooting at the moon?